Where do we come from? What is the most ancient civilization that we have record of? The Sumerian civilization, right out of the Stone Age, was invented over 100 of the first needed for civilization to take place, meaning they were the first ones to invent writing, mathematics, systems of laws, courts, judges, agriculture. Many of the sciences and things that we still use today came from Sumerian understandings. And the kicker of this information, and why this ties into mythology, is that the Sumerians and their system of writing, which was called cuneiform script, was done on clay and then fired up into stoves and turned into stone tablets. Clay into stone tablets.
While the masses pray to electrical talk boxes, Sumerians understood precession of equinoxes, complex understanding of medical procedures that existed way before the days of ancient Egypt. Claimed that knowledge came from unearthly inhabitants, exact specific instructions on life, no accident. The Nephilim that they don't want to mention in Bibles help the humans pursue their quest for the ascension of titles. Extraterrestrial telepathic channeling through the solar system, living beings from other galaxies hold the wisdom to the ancient civilizations that thrive before recorded time. The man's perception of sordid crime. A little more this time, what you see going on in the world today. There's a different link to what you think could be the pearly gates. An unworldly face, oblivion leads to an early grave. Mummified artifacts control the fate of the world today. Listen to history, what do you hear? A lot of unanswered questions that reflected in fear. Look at your history, what do you see? Generations of mental slaves who only think that they're free. Listen to history, what do you hear? A lot of unanswered questions that reflected to fear. Look at your history. What do you see? Generations of mental slaves who only think that they're free.
We still have many of their artifacts left from this first culture. Many of the tablets and scriptures that they've left us in stone form unchanged directly parallel the Hebrew and English New Testament. So we have all of these tales in a Sumerian version that are thousands of years before the Hebrew or the English version recorded in stone. One of these is called the Flood Tablet, and it's held in the British Museum. And it's a very interesting story of how a Sumerian man is chosen by a Sumerian god. They called their gods the Anunnaki. That simply just means those who from heaven come to earth. And it's a direct parallel of how Noah was chosen by God to build an ark, landed on Mount Ararat, send out the bird. Same story told in the Sumerian version recorded in stone thousands of years before the Hebrew or the English version.
Yo, it's like my powers when I saw this exorcism. Study 9/11, stargates and synchro mysticism. I shine like the light, boom. The pyramids, the visions, the rhyme description with the Sumerians' intentions. The epic of Gilgamesh. I go back to Europe where the ancient masters slept, where they burned their flesh. Lemurian seeds give the seal to the air. Rainforest, Brazilian trees that's cut down that you can't eat. For 2012, I dropped the clue. The lining in our planets and our solar system then comes back to Nibiru. And if you knew, take participation and sit back and listen. I study facts from Zachariah Stitchin. This like phenomenons like Dr. Lear. Woman under prenatal care with the cries and tears and fear. And not to mention the alien intervention with spiritual, psychological manipulation with bad intentions. The unholy six was raging the war since the wars of Cyrus, 8 beef and 7 stars like Pallades. The galactic planet when it travels and migrates. But nobody really explains how we evolved from primates. Speak, and if you can't see how 223 G's we proceed from the evolutionary tree can be. From medical, physical individuals, but telepathic, expressive, integrating, loving people. Call it from the land hill, you call it spiritual. Extraordinary enigmas with steady harmonics, communication frequencies, configure symbolics. Crop circles interpret the macrocosms, holographic, geographic osmosis, subliminal, blue hypnosis, psychosis. I'm not from Elliot Doggone, but I'm serious. I'm from Sirius. Awareness in certain connection, multis and areas. And we gotta get ready for the galactic shift. When the pole changes and everybody's world starts to flip. Ain't that a bitch?
So, some of the more interesting aspects about the Sumerian knowledge base is if you were to ask a Sumerian man, well, how do you know all this? Where did you learn all this information? And they say, everything we know, we were taught by the Anunnaki. And again, that term meaning those who from heaven come to earth. The Sumerians very specifically said where these beings come from. They didn't just say it was heaven or somewhere up in the sky. They said their gods, the Anunnaki, came from another planet within our own solar system, which they called Nibiru. That simply just meant planet of the cross. It symbolized this in the very early part of their culture as just a glowing cross in the sky, way before Christianity and Jesus on the cross. Another interesting similarity. So a lot of the information that the Sumerians possessed as far as saying our gods, the Anunnaki, come from another planet within our own solar system starts to really up the equation when when we apply our own knowledge of science and technology today, we're able to test many of the Sumerian artifacts and scriptures that show us their advanced knowledge of astronomy and how they track the stars over hundreds of years. They could tell you 50 years in advance on one specific day there would be a solar eclipse. So someone would know 50 years in advance who could read this information on what day astronomical events would take place.